where do I even start? Okay, so this conversation, it needs no introduction in the sense that it is full of so much juicy relationship, money, drama. And I'm not sure how much to say here. All I want you to know is this conversation is fascinating, shocking. I swore a lot, so I apologize in advance if you are listening with children in the car. We actually decided to not beep a lot of it out because it's kind of part of the story, if I'm being honest. I'm not proud of how much I'm swearing at the moment, going to try and rein that in, but I will say I think this conversation needed a few F-bombs and a few S-bombs. Anyway, you know what I mean. Potentially one of the most wild stories we've had on the podcast. I think we're going to have to get Holly back on to hear about the second property disaster that happened, as well as honestly hearing more about how we can look to protect ourselves from these types of things happening. I will also say, if you listen to this and you think, I know someone else who has the most outrageous story that's kind of along these lines, I don't know what it is about relationships and money and things just going absolutely tits up, but fascinating. So if you'd like to put yourself forward or someone else you know, please get in touch. Because I think not only is it fascinating and stunning entertainment, but it's actually really good in terms of learning as well. So thank you so much to Holly for being just such a good sport and sharing this so openly. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to another episode of the Property Podcast. I am loving this series. It's so fun to be able to talk about a different asset class. I mean, it's been years that we've spoken about the stock market, so to be able to really dive into property, I'm loving. We just wanted to share a message from our partners BNZ, who know that home ownership is not a straight line. Sometimes life just does throw you curveballs and there's actually nothing you can do about it. You just have to remember that they're all about supporting you through the hard stuff, not just the highlights. So if you are in a position where you're having a total meltdown or something's not gone to plan, just remember that the sooner that you talk to the bank, the more options that you will have. And it is never too late, no matter how dire things feel, to reach out. They are always there to help and not judge. So whether you're at the start of your journey or you're rebuilding whatever has gone wrong, remember that BNZ has got the tools and the people, and they're ready to help you find a way. Thank you so much to BNZ for empowering this podcast, and let's get into it. Holly, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. I wish you could be in London, like in the studio with me.
Same. Thank you so much for having me. I wish we could have done this together.
Okay, I'm like, there's so many things I want to talk to you about, and there's so many things that I am quite excited to go into quite a bit of detail on, but I thought what might be kind of fun and random and also like slightly childish. For anyone that doesn't know you, can we just pretend you're doing like, I don't know, a stand-up introduction in front of 20 people you don't know? What sort of things would you say about yourself? Like, honestly, it can be really boring, like how old you are, where you live. Yeah, just a little mini introduction.
I am 30 years old, about to turn 31, living in Auckland, in a city for the first time in my life with my best friend, who is also called Holly. Fun fact, I've been in Central Otago for 10 years prior to now, so very small town vibe compared to Auckland city life. Was in Dunedin before that, studying, grew up in a very small farming town.
Did you ever grow up thinking, I really want to be a business owner?
Never. I didn't even think that was possible. I didn't grow up thinking I was going to be a lawyer. Like, I grew up in a small farming town. I was working in shearing sheds and dagging gangs.
I mean, what even is that?
It's gross. It's like where they clean the sheep's bums and they're called dags. Yeah, so I'm like the farming girl. Like, corporate life, lawyer life was just not in my vicinity or even in my mind growing up. Like, I didn't think that was a possibility. Like, it wasn't even until 7th form in high school, kind of near the end, that I was like, like, what am I going to do?
You went to university and studied law.
Correct. I actually was really struggling. Like, I was not the smart kid at school by any means. Like, I was not the student who was studying. I wasn't, worried about grades. I obviously did okay, but I was definitely not school focused or education focused in the slightest. Like, I was, what parties can we go to this weekend? And
so good.
In 7th form, we had, I think, one of those like careers people who like you can do a personality test and it's like a careers advisor and they give you a whole bunch of options on like what you could go do. And went and did that, and one of the options was law. And I thought, why not? So went in very, very naively to just university life. from not being a student who studied or was trying for merit or excellence or anything like that to then going to try get into law at Otago University. Yeah, to get into first year, I was very naive. I was still not the studier, the smart kid. Like, I didn't know we had textbooks. We were meant to read textbooks all year. And I found out like a week before our exams that we had all these textbooks and readings that we'd meant to be doing like per lecture.
That's so funny.
I'll try my best. And if I get in, it's meant to be. And if I don't, it's not meant to be. And I'll deal with that then.
And you got it, and I'm like quite impressed. Not reading one textbook.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you've had the most outrageous experience with I shouldn't laugh because there's actually nothing funny about this story at all.
We can laugh now.
I mean, I don't even know how long it would have taken you to get to the point of being able to laugh, but I think for me it would be a solid 5 years. How old were you when you bought your first house? What was the situation at the time? What made you decide to buy? Can you just set the scene for everyone?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really bad at quick math, so can somebody work this out for me if I'm about to turn 31 and it was in 2017? Is it like 21, 22?
You're a baby.
Yeah, like a baby. And I was a baby. Like, it was a really cool opportunity that was given to me and my partner at the time. So we had been in a relationship, I think, to be fair, by like six-ish years at that point. So we were together all through high school, together all through uni.
Oh my God. So how old were you when you met him?
Like 17.
Wow, okay, right. So you'd been together from school. This was now university. You were maybe 21, 22. You'd been together for 6 years.
Yeah.
Were you still at uni?
Yep. So I'd gone through all of university. We were still together. When I left home at high school, I never went back home. So we like moved in together. He was based in Queenstown. We moved in together then. So I never went back to my parents' home, I guess is what I'm trying to say there.
So you were a quite young but also married couple in a way. It was almost like you were quite a mature relationship for the age you were at.
But we did stop and have that conversation. I remember specifically saying this before I was applying for jobs and things. Like, are we together out of habit, or are we together like because we're choosing to be together? Like, not out of, like we just started dating and then kind of ended up together, because I feel like a lot of people do that as well. Like, you end up in a relationship and you just stay there, and then all of a sudden you do these chapters kind of just going through the motions without ever really stopping and going, did I actually want this? Like, did we actually choose to do this? So I remember having those conversations before I went and applied for jobs and things like that, because I was like, I don't want to just come here if it's not actually what we both want. So we had those conversations. It was like, no, we're both on the same page. It must have been third year that we had that conversation, because at the end of, or towards the end of third year was when I first got my first law job and got like a clerkship in Queenstown and got my first taste of what a lawyer actually did in their day and what was involved, and met lawyers for the first time, and sort of got some experience in terms of working a 9 to 5, not working at an orchard or a lolly shop. I did a lolly shop stint in Queenstown as well. Like, everyone knows that lolly shop. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So dangerous.
Okay, for anyone that is not from New Zealand, this is the most iconic sweet shop. Like, you walk in and it's kind of every child's dream. There is sweets all over the walls. There's, oh my God, I would kill for a Jersey caramel right now.
So good, right?
Oh my God, do you know, I've actually got chocolate in the office next door. I'm actually going to go get it. That's how much I'm craving sugar. Can I go grab my chocolate? This is so unprofessional. I'll be right back.
This is so good.
So this is also quite iconic from me, I will say. So Vic brought this back as a gift for the Curve team.
Oh.
You won't believe it. She's got Whittaker's.
I was going to say Whittaker's. It's got to be Whittaker's.
So this is like a New Zealand specialty. It's like our best chocolate. Anyway, I've got a dark almond, 60%, stunning. Okay, right. This is perfect. I actually think I need sweet treats for this story. Okay, so was it scary to be, 23 or whatever you were, and be thinking, this is the person I'm going to be with forever, this is our home, this is my job? Because it's quite young to be in that situation. I'm only 34 and I'm doing that.
Yeah, no, I'm like shocked that I thought that that was normal and that I didn't think it was weird at the time. Like, even now I'm like, oh my God, I can't imagine like going through those motions right this moment. But at that time it felt normal, and I was focused on like, oh, I'll become a lawyer. And even then I was like, right, once I'd sort of locked in that, I was like, my goal was to like work and become a partner one day, and like that's sort of what will be my life, and hopefully have a family. And yeah, I didn't bat an eyelid at the end, but now I'm like, oh my God, you're a baby, get the heck out.
So
like,
little,
what are you doing?
God. So you've moved your life, things are going well, you're happy, you've got a great job, amazing. Tick, 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 everything's good. Let's talk about how this property opportunity came up. What was the opportunity? Was it a plan? Did you think, okay, right, it's time for us to buy? Or did the opportunity just fall into both of your laps?
So the opportunity came through a family member of his. So we were very fortunate in that position where they were very much involved in the property world in Queenstown and things like that, and said, here's an opportunity. Do you want to take it? So my partner he was a builder and my family were builders. And also, so the opportunity sort of came about. And in amongst all of that happening as well, I actually also started a side hustle, which might have been like the first step into entrepreneurship. And the reason I'm bringing that up is that did also go towards the build and things like that as well, is this other business that I did have. But yes, so the opportunity came up. It was sort of a no-brainer. We were in that phase of life. Maybe 6 months after the opportunity came up, he proposed. So he went from partner to fiance.
Hold on. How old were you?
It was 2018. How old am I in 2018?
8 years ago. So 23?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow, that's so young.
So young at the time. But at the time it felt right. Because you've been together for 7-ish years by that point. It was the happiest I've ever been. I was like working as a lawyer. I had this side business selling cakes. Like life was good. We were now starting to build this house. It did take us 2 years to build the house. So obviously we were building it ourselves. Like for 2 years of our lives, we didn't actually have a life. Like it was a really hard grind. I was working full-time as a lawyer. I was up at 4 a.m. making cakes and the weekends as well when I wasn't at the house helping in whatever way I could in terms of the build. But we were grinding. I guess that's the kind of the picture I'm trying to paint. Like it's not like we did this house and, you know, we were given money or anything like that. It was, here's an opportunity. We were definitely given an opportunity and I'll never refute that. Like we were absolutely provided an opportunity and in through a family member of his. But we were grinding. Like we were there every weekend, every night, every spare hour for 2 years it took to build this house.
When it came to the actual finances, whose name was it in? How was it set up?
Yeah.
How were you funding the project? Can you just run through a bit more detail around the actual setup of that?
Yeah. So the initial build was through my partner. So my name wasn't on it at all, which some people might go, that's really risky. His in his name and his lending, but we paid everything together. So he never put in more than I did. We split the lending. So we were splitting our rent 50 because we were obviously paying rent while we were paying the loan as well. So we were splitting the rent 50-50. We were splitting the loan 50-50. We were splitting all of our costs equally. Every bill that we got, we both paid half of that as well. It was in his name. Now that's a risk, but given my background and my knowledge, I knew I was fine. I knew without it being in my name, I was still legally entitled to that property. It was 50-50 in terms of relationship property law. We were in a de facto relationship. I didn't have any concerns there by not essentially being in my name because I knew it was legally my house as well.
So this is different in other parts of the world, but in New Zealand, is it after 2 years or 3 years?
3 years, yeah.
Thank God, because 2 is quite quick. 3 years, you officially become almost in the same way as when you get married and you
Absolutely.
kind of everything is sort of fair game. It's the same thing in New Zealand, whereas I know that's quite unique. Other parts of the world, it's not like that. But you basically knew, because obviously you had a legal background, that you were fine and that there was never going to be an issue in terms of who owns it.
Yeah.
So you were engaged, had a beautiful home, everything was good.
Well, not quite. This is where it's interesting. So we were literally maybe 1 month away from finishing our build. We were living downstairs. I think all that we had left to do was maybe carpet, like windows were in, walls were painted, kitchen was in, and then my mum was meant to be coming for dinner this night. And I got a text that day at work from my partner being like, is your mum still coming for dinner? And I was like, yeah, why's that? And he's like, oh, I don't think she should. I was like, okay, that's really weird. And I just had this gut feeling. I was like, oh my God, we're over. And I actually rang my sister-in-law and was like, I just got this text from my partner and he just said, can your mum not come to dinner? I was like, I reckon we're done. And she's like, there's no way. Like there is just no way.
And sorry, is this sister? This is your fiance's sister?
No, this is my brother's wife.
Oh, so at this point, How far through the wedding planning, paying for the wedding?
Okay, so this is September 2019. We were getting married November 2019, so we were 2 months away from the wedding. So we had like the venue locked in, we had the food, like catering locked in, the photographer, we even had a videographer. Invites had been sent, like the wedding was locked in. We had all the wine sitting in our garage. So yeah, we're getting married November 2019, but so 2 months before, I got this text while I was at work. It was a Monday saying, "Can your mum not come to dinner?" And I was like, oh my God. And it was no, and then so I went home that night and my partner had cheated on me. My fiance had cheated on me. And I remember just like dropping to the floor. You see it in the movies and you're like, does that happen in real life? It happened. Like it was literally like the whole breath just taken out of your lungs, being like, oh my God. The last thing that you expected, and I think that's the thing, like if you asked anybody at the time, you know how sometimes you're like, yeah, called that. Nobody called it. Like nobody saw this coming. I didn't see it coming. No one saw it coming. Small town. It was the talk of the town for months and months and months. Like nobody saw it coming. It's definitely not one of those ones where you're like, no, we kind of knew that was going to happen the whole way along. It was definitely one that was like, holy heck. And it was like, you're getting married in 2 months. Like, what? It literally broke me. And it broke me, but it also, looking back, it broke my heart because initially my reaction was, we can make this work. And that was never me. Like I was never the girl that was like, if a guy had treated me that way or could do something like that, I was like, I am done. Like I know my worth. I would walk away. I would never stand by somebody that did that to me. And in the initial moment, it was like, oh no, we can make this work. And thankfully, he was like, oh no, like I've done this. And he didn't beg for forgiveness immediately. It came. Don't worry, it came. It always comes. As females, we always know that it comes, just not.
But it didn't come at first? What the
Yeah, no. So he got caught up in this little love affair bubble.
Wait, he was dating her?
Yeah, like straight away. So he was like staying at her house. He brought her to our home, like the home that we were still living in together.
No, that is absolutely, I hope if there's any children in the car, please block their ears. That is absolutely fucked. Like to bring, when you're about to get married, holy shit, in what context?
I was away for the day with like some girlfriends. I was so lucky at the time. I had the best girlfriends around me. Like girlfriends are it. I mean, everyone just needs their good girl group, right? To be like, you can get through anything.
They're the real loves of your life, aren't they?
Yeah, literally. So I was out for the day and then they just obviously decided to have, I don't know, drinks and an event at our house. So she was at our house. So were our mutual friends as well. And I got home and one of our friends, like it was a mutual friend of ours, said, oh, Holly, I don't think you should go in there. And I said, why? It's my home. Like that's literally where I'm going to sleep. And they're like, oh no, she's there. And I just remember thinking, all of you suck as well. Like the fact that you're okay with this and can stand by this, exit, like absolutely not my people.
Did you storm in and say like, get the fuck out of my house?
No, I left. I was very firm in that I will take the high road till death. Like I am not going to give a reaction. I'm not going to be like to me, no response was the best response. And I was like, that's the one thing I can control in this dynamic. Like they can do whatever they want to do. No one can ever say anything about me if I give no reaction. Like I will hold my head high. I'm not going to throw anything. I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to call you names. I'm not going to call her any names. She didn't owe me anything. She didn't do anything to me, like she knew that he was engaged and getting married in 2 months, had just built a house with somebody, but she didn't owe me anything. So I left. And even after I left, I then proceeded to get sent, and I've got screenshots, so videos from the girl and her friend drinking our wedding wine.
What kind of sadistic, weird person does that?
Honestly, I've got screenshots because I'm like, that you're mean. Like you have to live with that for the rest of your life that you did something like that. I did nothing to you and you are sitting there in my house with my fiance drinking my wedding wine being like, haha, like we're with him. And I'm like, have him. By that point, I'm like, he is I am done. Like nobody who was meant for me would ever do that to me in my life. So
oh my God.
I'd like definitely done a shift by that point. Initially it was heartbroken and I was like, I would have taken you back. By this point, and it probably only took 2 to 3 weeks, but by this point I was like well and truly done. And it was, you are not my person and you are not, like we were never meant to be. And this was like, the universe or whatever stepping in, being like, you are going to make a serious mistake if you marry this man, and we need to stop this drastically before you go down that path, and this is the only way to do it. And
isn't that absolutely wild?
they also then, because I had my cake business at the house at that point as well, and I had a big calendar, like managing my orders, and on the wedding date, and I've got a screenshot of I've got a photo of this as well, on the wedding date of what was meant to be our wedding day. So they wrote over that night too, and I was like, you're mean girls, and good luck to you. Have him, have the life. I don't want to, I'm out. Leave me alone, please.
Jesus. Okay, so that happened.
Plot twist.
Firstly, I'm really sorry. I know that you're over it now, but that is like definitely something no one should ever experience. Although, thank God you didn't marry him.
Thank God.
So the relationship obviously ended at that point. He was trying to get you back.
Yes. I think initially he was just going through some stuff and that was a distraction, and he was like, oh, this is so fun. And then maybe after, the first, everything's fun when it's new. And then maybe it was probably 4 weeks later, he was like, oh no, I'm so done with her after all that stuff that had happened. And he was literally begging me to come back, because it was by the time, so what was meant to be our wedding, I left and went to Australia with my mum, and I was getting phone calls being like, we're meant to be getting married and take me back and, please forgive me and all those types of things. And so I think at that point it wasn't a financial driver. I think he genuinely realised he made a mistake and then was like, I'll do anything to get you back. I was having 13 missed phone calls a day. My family were getting messages. My mum was getting messages. My dad was getting messages. Friends were getting messages. It was wild.
No one can come back from that.
You cannot come back from that. And also he did kind of come with the approach of just forgive me right now, let's move on. And I'm like, no, I don't think you get to understand. You do something like that, you don't just move. It's not a thing where you're like, okay, it's done, and the next day we're good. And I don't know if anyone can ever truly come back from that. And if you do, I think you need a lot of therapy and a lot of work before you decide whether you actually could ever move forward from a situation like that. Me personally, absolutely not.
What was the legal situation when you separated? And can we talk about what unfolded once you decided, right, we're definitely separated? Now we have to deal with, obviously, the fallout financially from the wedding, but also we have this shared asset together. What happened?
Yeah, so you get no deposits back when you cancel a wedding 2 months in advance and everything you've paid. So say goodbye to that money, by the way.
Did you try to say, my fiancé cheated on me?
Oh my God, no, I was mortified. I had to get my mum to contact all the vendors and be like, sorry, the wedding's not going ahead, and just put my head, I was tapping out. That's not even worth chasing, because I knew, that. And then I tried to take a kind of realistic approach and said, well, let's get the property valued. Here's our debt. We'll split the equity 50-50. And I had some real estate agents come through, bearing in mind this property's in Central Otago, and between 2017 and 2019, everything had started trending up. Central Otago's always kind of been a nice area, but things had started going up drastically around that point. And in terms of the home we'd sort of built and things like that, the property valuation came in quite high at that point.
So you'd made money?
Yeah, definitely. Substantial money.
Amazing.
But then came the conversation of, well, that's a valuation, that's not true. And I just said that verbally and sort of left it at that and was sort of that's how I intended to approach it. But we needed to clarify what our debt was, because we'd obviously done a lot ourselves. We hadn't sort of had clear breakdowns from the building company, which, our loan was through and things like that in terms of where we were at with our lending. We'd had a breakdown about in August. We sort of got it given a breakdown, and then there were a few costs that came in September, which I had some receipts for, but not all of them. So there was a bit of conversation about what the actual debt was in terms of where we were at with our loan and lending and things like that.
And can I just clarify, when you say that, you basically mean you had to actually really carefully look at how much you'd spent and how much you owed to get a clear picture of the amount that you still needed to pay back to the bank, and therefore that was the thing that was impacting the sort of question mark around what's the value of this property.
Yeah, and they disagreed with the real estate valuation and things like that. So then that was the approach I was trying to take. I was going, the house is kind of our main asset. We've both kind of chucked everything we've had in the last 2 years into this, and the wedding, there's not really much else to argue over. Let's just work out what the equity is, split that 50-50, and we'll go our separate ways. And they offered me a figure which was way less than the equity based on our full loan and what their real estate agent had provided as a property valuation. Like, I think at that point the property might have been valued at like I can't remember if it was 1.2 or 1.3, maybe even at that point.
That's amazing at 24. Holy.
And it was like, it's location driven, definitely, and the timing. So following that, I got my first lawyer letter. So he went and got a lawyer involved and sent me this formal letter. And I went, oh, okay, so we're going down that path. And then I got a lawyer of my own, because every lawyer knows you should never act for yourself. And so they sent the first letter. When it comes to relationship property, the first step is disclosure. So you do a full breakdown of costs, like debts and liabilities, to work out what everything is involved, to then work out what is relationship property, what's the split, what does that look like. We spent the next year after they started the first letter asking for disclosure and did not get it.
And what were you waiting to get? What disclosure did they need to provide?
So like the actual debt in terms of, our costs and things like that. And you can't put forward a serious offer until you sort of get full disclosure on debts and liabilities. So we were asking for information, we weren't getting it. That went on for a year. At this point, I was like, I can't live here. So we were still sharing the house. Yeah.
Nah.
He was living upstairs. I was living downstairs, because there was like an apartment downstairs.
Oh my God, I cannot deal. I would have just been like on actual eggshells, not wanting to leave the house, not wanting to. That's so bad for your mental health.
Yeah. And I was like, this is not viable. Like, we need a solution. We're not getting a resolution. Then I got the lawyer's letter and I was like, okay, I'm out. Like, I literally can't stay here a day longer, because he was also like knocking on my door being like, take me back. And I'm like, no, like, you made your bed, lie in it, let me move on. And you've also now got lawyers involved. And then I was like, I need out. So then that year I was working as a lawyer. By that point I'd left Queenstown and was working in Wanaka at a law firm there. And when I moved in with my two best friends, anyone going through a breakup, move in with your best friends, because it is so much fun. You have the time of your life. So then we face a 3-year court battle over this house. So it wasn't quick, it wasn't smooth, it was one of the most horrific processes I think I've ever been through in my life, and a real eye-opening experience. Like, I think the perception is law is black and white and it's this or that. That is absolutely not the case. Like, it is so grey that it's unbelievable. And I think I should have known that, given we all hear about how you've got like the family court, the Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court, like, even when a court makes a ruling, you can challenge it. So it's like, law's never black and white. You get a ruling and you can go to another court and get it overturned. So anyone thinking that they have it figured out, or there's going to be this person coming in to say you're right, or here's like a judgment, like, go away on your merry way, you're dreaming. And I think that's the reality I've learned in terms of life. Like, there is never a real winner. There's never a clear outcome. So for the next 3 years, we were in court, and every time you felt like you win, courts just give opportunity after opportunity. Like, he simply just would not comply with court orders. And what do? You have to go back to court and say, I have to spend more money on more lawyers, wait more time, and be like, you made a ruling, they haven't complied. What are you going to do about it? Oh, we'll go back, we'll give them another chance. And then they do it again and they don't comply. So I don't know how long into this at this point, maybe a couple of years later, by going back and forward through courts.
And also, sorry, do you think he was trying to make you spend more money on lawyers?
Oh, absolutely. It was like, we'll draw this out until you give up, and because you can't keep funding this forever. Absolutely.
That's so mean.
Yeah, no, that was definitely the intention, is we'll drag this out as long as possible and let you keep spending money until you run out, because you're going to run out. Like, all your equity was in that home. Like, you put your entire life and savings into that. You don't have the funds to keep funding lawyers to keep sending letters after letters and keep going to court years and years later, had to pay for like valuations and all those types of things that people all tell you, lawyers go, oh, you'll get that back. You don't. Very rare do you get to a point, like when it comes to reaching settlements and relationship property, so much stuff gets swept under the rug. So people sitting there saying you can get this, you can get it, you might, but the chances of you getting that, you probably won't in reality.
So at this point, how much had you spent on legal fees? Like, where did it land? Because that would have been so stressful, spending that much money on court fees, number one. But then how, like, at what did you think, okay, maybe I should just give up? The whole like sunken cost fallacy would be really hard too if you've already spent a lot of money.
Yeah. I think we finally got to a figure. So just to give you a bit of context as well. So I finally got a court date for a court ordered for sale. So because the property wasn't in my name, I could only do so much. So we got a hearing for a court ordered sale, and literally I think it was like 12 hours before that court hearing, my lawyer, who had been with me for the entire 2.5, almost 3-year process, she had to leave town. And I said to her, are you okay to attend this via video conference? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, oh, I'll double check. And she sent an email to the court saying, I'm out of town. Can I attend via this video conference? And they wrote back and said no. So 3 years into the separation, 12 hours or whatever it was before my court process, my lawyer's like, oh, I'm not going to be there. And we now need to find another lawyer who can step in and represent you at this court hearing for a court order. Because it was finally the big day to get the court ordered sale, because that's what we needed to actually sell the property, because they just weren't complying with any of the directions. So now it was like to take it out of their hands. But yeah, and the lawyer I'd had for 3 years up until that point couldn't attend. So we had to find somebody on like overnight's notice to be like, can you show up and present at this hearing for me? So that was another spanner in the works. But at that hearing, we got the court ordered sale. So the court said, cool, here's your order for sale. You can now like sell the property. He then didn't comply with that. And that was another spanner in the works, where you get a court ordered sale and they literally just don't comply. And the court had appointed a real estate agent and they were just like, no, and just didn't comply. And fast forward, you had to wait till that court order expired and be like, well, they haven't complied with the court order, which was like another 3 months. And then in that 3 month time frame, my lawyer that had been with me for that 2.5, 3 year time frame, she actually got made a judge and could no longer represent me. So then I had to find another lawyer and amongst all of this as well. And then fast forward, I got another lawyer. We finally got the property sold, and that was 2022? I think we got it sold via court-ordered sale. And for context, he still thought he could keep the property. The real estate that went there the day of settlement, and he was still in the house because they tried to do, I won't go into the detail, but he tried to do everything he could to stop the sale. And it didn't work. The buyer paid. And then the real estate showed up and he was literally in the house, all his furniture, like nothing packed. Like he literally thought he could stop the sale. And she's like, you need to get out. Like this house is sold. And she rang me and she's like, so settlement's gone through, but he's still in the property and he's now running around like a headless chicken trying to get all of his stuff out before the buyer shows up. Like it was a wild experience.
He is crazy. I'm going to keep my mouth shut, sorry.
Yeah, so that was wild. So 2023, we finally, after everything, like it was like 19, 20, what's that, 3 years, finally got it sold.
Obviously quite shit at dates, I'll be honest. Holly's,
honestly.
She's like, 20, it was 85, I think it was 91. Like
Math is not my strong point. Anyway, so nor dates. Anyway, it was finally sold. And that was great, but it was still the conversation about how the sale proceeds are going to be split. So then that took another year of court fees and processes. And we still hadn't got the information that we've been asking for however long. We're definitely 2023 by this point. So it'd been going on for ages. The property had been sold, but we still hadn't got the information. And we finally went to a court date. And by this point, I am almost at 6 figures in legal fees over the last however many years. And I'd saved a lot of costs because I obviously had a background in law, I have a background in relationship property and things like that. Like I knew what I needed to do and what I didn't. So I could save money and help my lawyers as much as possible by giving, pre-drafting staffing, letting them edit and things like that. I remember sitting there and my lawyer said to me, Holly, he's like, at some point you just have to be done. He's like, whatever date, however many years, we're not great at math, but we sat in front of the judge. So we finally got this hearing where we were meant to be deciding what happens with the legal fees and with the settlement proceeds. And the judge literally looked at me and goes, I'm not going to lie, I haven't read any of this. And I just went, and my heart just like sunk. And I was like, this is your job. Like, you're a judge. This is a hearing that you're meant to be hearing. And you're telling me, I've paid lawyers to draft all of these memorandums, file all of this evidence for you to review before today. And you're sitting here looking at me going, I haven't read any of this. We're now 4 years, whatever in. Why don't we just get a resolution today? You're both young. Let's just move on with your life. And I'm like, wow, that's our justice system, where I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on lawyers filing this evidence, 4 years of my life, and for a judge to sit there and look at me and go, I haven't read any of it. Let's just reach a resolution. Come on, like, you're all young here. Let's just move on with our lives. And I was like, wow. And then my lawyer said to me, he's like, you could keep going. You could win. But for them, it's not about money. It's about principle. And if you win today, they'll take you to the Court of Appeal. Do you know what I mean? Like, a win isn't even a win in New Zealand. You can challenge it. He's like, it's time to, like, well, he didn't tell me it was time, but he helped me frame to go, it's time to just walk away. So we went back in and he did what he did. I walked away, and it was definitely not what I would consider fair, considering property prices in that time as well had gone up even more. That was sort of the peak of property pricing and things like that. But I was just at that point so done, and it was time to move on with my life and realize that there is way more to life than money. And it wasn't, to me, I don't think it was about money. It was trying to be like, you've done something wrong and you should be held accountable, and you should have to prove that and present the evidence, and you can't ignore court orders, and somebody needs to say it's not okay. And then I was like, nobody's coming to say it's not okay. Nobody's coming to save you. It's time to just move on with your life and let go of this concept that somebody will come save you or say somebody's hurt you.
But what were you offered in terms of, like, what was the actual decision that you had to accept that you weren't stoked with?
It definitely wasn't 50-50. There was just numbers kind of thrown around.
But it should have been 50-50, and it wasn't, is essentially what happened.
No, yeah, definitely.
So they were looking at the amount that the house sold for, and they said, you can have this and you can have this.
Yeah, pretty much. And there was no recognition for, like, all the orders previously of, like, occupation rent that was meant to come in, and all the value, the $3,000 valuations that I had to go and pay for twice on court directions or any of that. And it just, none of that came into it. But it was time to walk away. And, like, you could have fought and kept spending money, but it was, it got to a point where it was like, again, not great at math, but we're 2023 and it's time to move on with your life. Like, this has been going on since 2019. Like, it's time to let it all go.
Did you end up getting some money out of it? Like, did you at least get capital gains and, like, some? It wasn't as though you were in the red even after spending all, like, $100,000 on legal fees?
Yes, no, I was very fortunate in terms of that. And because I'd just been paying my legal fees as I went along, I kind of just treated that as money gone. Like, I wasn't really looking at that. So definitely in a position where I had now still a decent house deposit to move forward with. So it wasn't me going into the negatives or walking away with 10 grand. Like, it was still a decent house deposit, maybe not in Central Otago on my own, but it was fine. And it wasn't going to change my life by any means, but it was there. And it was like, okay, more from that, it was like, let's take the lessons from it versus maybe monetary wins. Like, let's take the life lessons, the law lessons that you learnt in terms of tools and relationship property and what people can do, and the power of court orders and, all the limitations on court orders and things like that as well.
Let's talk about the lessons. So if you look back now, what would you have done differently if you were buying with him? I mean, gosh, let's start there. There's many learnings, I'm sure, but let's start there.
Yeah, definitely having I would never do a build with a builder privately. I would only ever build through a building company, fixed price contract. You both know what you're in, you both know what you're putting in, you know what your costs are. There would be no building yourself or trying to save cost elsewhere or doing any of those types of tools or tricks. It would be like, nope, neither of us are going to do anything. Here's a builder, here's the contractors, here's the price, that's it. I would have walked away a lot sooner, knowing what I know now. If I'd known what I'd known at the end. I would have walked away at the very beginning in 2019. But also I only can say that because I went through everything that I went through, versus if I hadn't gone through that experience, I would never have been okay walking away at that point because I would never have known.
So was it a similar amount basically that they offered you at that point?
It was more, but I think given everything that I'd gone through, it wasn't worth it. Money-wise, no. Life lessons-wise, absolutely, because I think it built some serious resilience and that real understanding of letting go. I think we all sometimes feel like when people do something wrong, we're all grown up like, oh, you know, if you do something wrong, you're going to get in trouble. It's like, are you really? Like, no one's actually that worried, unless it's like really seriously bad. But like nobody actually cares and nobody is going to come save you. So I think it was sort of the thing of like taking life into your own hands and being like, how can I do this for myself and never need to rely on anyone moving forward was probably a huge thing that came out of it for me. And to be like, I can be successful and do well on my own terms and not have somebody else play a part in that or deter my level of success and what I do with my life.
So many things I want to touch on, but the first thing is maybe the last point that you just made. Do you mean that you will never get financially involved with someone again, that you don't want to build a life with somebody where your success is intertwined? Is that kind of what you mean?
Maybe. And I don't want to say not intertwined because I did then enter into a new relationship post that whole experience and did enter into a new phase of building a house with somebody again. But my approach to it was very different. And I also maintained my own independence throughout it, and I was never and very clear on that. And I think maybe not so refusing to intertwine lives, but still making sure I am good financially and I'm not actually relying on someone else ever financially. And I think I've seen that so much in my career as well as relationship property, how women particularly can be impacted by supporting their partners in life and in things, and things outside of your control happen and you get hit really hard financially, and that's a whole different concept that we could probably go into. But that is a big driver in terms of it sort of, I think, gave something in me to be like, okay, I want to put myself in a position where I am okay financially and I never have to rely on anyone ever again. And I can still be in a relationship and have a life with somebody, but I will always have my own financial independence.
It's such a hard balance though, you know, the idea of wanting your own and having your own financial independence, but then also having shared goals and working towards things with somebody. I definitely don't think I've figured out what that middle ground is, but is what you're saying, if you go about it the right way and you have your own financial independence, as in you have your own money, you have your own goals, but you also are open to the idea of
doing something with them.
Because I think I don't know. I'm still figuring out how I feel about that.
Yeah, and I get that. I think it changes though, depending on what phase you're in terms of that. Like what it could be right now can be really different when you enter a next chapter, when you do start building something together. And I think that's the thing when it comes to finances and relationships and things like that. It's not black and white, and it's not like it's there's one rule that you then have to stick to for the next 60 years. I think it's being open to being like, okay, this is where we are right now and this is what it looks like. Okay, this is our next chapter and this is what we want to do. How does it look like then? And just making sure in each phase, even doing stuff together, you are still making sure like you are protected and you are going to be okay no matter if something does happen in any of those different phases. You haven't just given away all of your, I don't want to say it's not your independence, but like not just passing it over to somebody else and trusting them to do it for you, maybe.
It's not being passive.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you think that entire experience shaped the way that you now think about money, relationships, property today?
I think I'm open to absolutely doing things with another person. And it doesn't have to be on your own. Like you don't have to build success by yourself. I think it's very hard to build success by yourself. Like it takes a whole group of people to make you successful. But I think it's also choosing those people wisely. Like in that dynamic, that was never a two-way equal street. So it's finding somebody who, like you say, has the same goals. Like if you're not aligned financially and you do have different goals, like do you really want to be intertwining your finances if you do have different goals or they don't have the same sort of trajectory you want to go? So I think it is like aligning now, for me particularly, it's aligning with somebody who has the same sort of vision and goals and approach that I do. And it's not necessarily they agree with what I do. Like, I'd hope it'd be somebody I can learn from and grow from, and they can, add skills that I don't have, because I definitely don't have it all figured out. But really being a team and taking that team approach and making sure it's fair both sides the whole way through, not just one person driving and the other person being passive.
I guess if someone's listening right now and they're thinking about, or they own property with somebody, what are some of the key things that they should think about either before signing, or if they are in a really happy relationship and they have property with somebody, what are some of those things that they should think about, make sure they have in place? Maybe it's even conversations that they should have had or had documented.
Yeah, so I think everyone needs to normalise the conversation of prenups. I literally had this conversation a couple of days ago where their whole perception of prenups was that gold digger term, like, we need a prenup because we think you're a gold digger. And I'm like, that's going with the approach of like, prenups are what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours, hard, no, there's, and it's like, that's not what a prenup is. Like, that is a really old school maybe perception of what prenups are, but they're so fluid and they're so tailored to each individual person and their circumstances that we need to make them normal and say that they should be part of our conversations, and not this big scary thing of me trying to say, well, if we break up, you're going to steal my money and you're this gold digger, or whatever it is, because it's not like that in reality. I think the reality of a prenup is saying, let's look at our relationship, what we've contributed, where we both are and where we want to go, and what we would consider fair given who's doing what and who's sacrificing and things like that, because also things aren't always monetary as well. Contributing to a relationship, a lot of things aren't monetary that you can't value, so it's taking a holistic view. And I think the reality of a prenup is it's just saying, between us, let's agree with what's fair, versus letting the government decide. Like, the act is just a backup if you haven't chosen. And I think that's the thing about a prenup, is it's you making a choice, and a proactive choice, because so many people get in because of a gift from a family member or an opportunity and things like that people do want to protect. Because I think, it's particularly in New Zealand, once you do hit that 3-year mark and you are in a relationship and you are considered de facto, if you are living in a home that you did, perhaps receive some inheritance for or a gift for, you've been, paying for this and you've reduced your debt, you've down quite substantially, you might have owned it for 10 years before you've met your now partner, you've actually got quite a bit of equity that you've built prior to this relationship with this person. You might go, I actually want to look at a way to protect that, at least in the next 5 to 10 years, particularly if they aren't contributing towards it, or even just protect what you've built up into that point. And there's just so many ways you can do it. So I think it's being okay to have those conversations. Like, I think we're also scared to talk about money. And that perception of, if we're talking about money, you're greedy, or you've got an ulterior motive, or what are you trying to do? And it's like, it's not, it's just money. Let's just talk about it. Let's have those conversations, because the more clear you are up at the beginning, I think, the better it is going to be long term, because nobody's under any illusions. You're both clear on where you stand. There's no uncertain territory where people make up stories, and we're all good at making up stories in our heads when we don't know, and people are quite good at avoiding conversations, and then we paint these pictures and act in certain ways, and it's like, let's just get clear from the beginning. Have those conversations with your partner and decide, and you might not be able to decide what's fair, you might need some guidance, and that is where lawyers are helpful, is they've seen this, they do it a lot, to say, there are so many different ways you can approach this. It is not what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours, full stop, by any means. So I think it's being okay to have those conversations together, and then both be willing to go, okay, well, how can we, maybe we do need to go get some advice and hear how we can do it in a way that's fair for us both, and how it can evolve with our life and the different things that we do.
For anyone that's listening to that, because I think we should absolutely go into more detail, and I would love to actually have another conversation with you where we talk about more about succession, wills, property law, how to think about prenups differently, assets within relationships. I think that there's a huge conversation to be had, and obviously as a lawyer and with experience in this space, I think that there's a lot that we could learn and unpack. So I would love to talk about that more. But I would love to wrap this conversation up by just, I guess, asking, what do you think is the biggest reason that people should talk about this stuff earlier in relationships or earlier in life? Given the experience you have both personally but also with your work. I imagine there's people wanting to tune out of this because it is so bury your head in the sand. And I understand why, and I don't know. I'd love to know for anyone that is thinking, I don't really want to tune in for part 2 because I don't really want to think about this. Do you have any kind of like final thoughts that may change their mind on that?
I think you're always better to be informed and make a decision based off having enough information. And once you've got that information, if you don't want to do anything with it, fair enough. Like, everyone is their own person and they can choose to do with what they want. But if you don't know, I think that's where a lot of it, I think the surprises come in, particularly personally and professionally. What I've seen is people don't know. And then they get to the end when something goes wrong and they're throwing all this law in all of these positions and they go, but that's not what they said, but that's not what we agreed to, but that's not what we had decided, that's not how we acted for the last 15 years. They didn't do this, they didn't do that. And it goes, it doesn't matter. Like, it actually doesn't matter what you two have done, what you two have decided, what you two have said between yourselves. When you get to the end point and then you have a lawyer saying, well, you're legally entitled to this, or you could legally do this, so many people go, oh, it's not me. Despite what we've said between us for the last 15 years, it's not me. My lawyer has said this. It's my legal right. Of course I have to do this. And I have seen that so many times.
Such a cop-out.
Yeah. But and then again, and it's all these people who go, well, I didn't know. And it's like, well, that's to me where I do think it's really important to educate people on knowing what are the rights, because so many of us don't know and don't know how it works. And you don't know until it's too late. And you go, well, we haven't been operating that way. And it goes, well, it's too late at that point because the laws apply and it is what it is. So I think it's just being better educated. Like, I want to be like better educated on finances. We all want to be better educated so then we can make decisions and do with that information what we please. But I think having that information to then make a decision is always going to put you in a better position.
It's also interesting because your experience with the court system and actually trying to do something, realizing how difficult that is to implement if you don't have something watertight and in writing. I mean, you've experienced that firsthand where you kind of can't rely on the system to do what's right by you. You have to put it in writing first. And I think that, yeah, it makes a lot of sense why you're doing the work you're doing and why you're so passionate about telling people what their rights are and what they need to do if they, want to feel like they've got their ducks in a row and are protected should worst case scenario happen, like your fiance come home 2 months before the wedding and tell you they've cheated. Holly, I think that I can speak on behalf of the entire audience and the whole Curve community and anyone else that's tuning in for the first time to hear someone educated, very successful, very honest, and have the courage to share all of the things that you quote unquote did wrong or didn't know and like all of the messy stuff in between. I think that you're really walking the walk. It's getting a bit like walking the talk in terms of sharing what happened to you to help other people. And I think that that's super admirable. So thank you for sharing. And for anyone that would like to hear more from Holly, she has an incredible business which helps you navigate these types of conversations called Succession. And we have a code for anyone from the Curve community. It's the Curve. We will put all the details in the podcast show notes if you think this is something you want to explore. But also, would love to get you on again to have another conversation and just learn a bit more about this. And I think that it might be nice for other people before engaging with you or a lawyer to just get some more top line information around some of the things that a lot of us don't know. So thank you so much for your time. It was so great to have you on the podcast. And hopefully chat again really soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Did you love this episode?
Yes.
Have you got property front and centre in your mind? Sounds like you're a 5-year-old.
I know.
Now could be the time to take the first step towards what it is that you're wanting to buy. Whether that's your first home, whether that's a new flat, whether it's, buying another investment property.
And thankfully, BNZ has the expertise and tools to help you get started, and their home loan partners are ready whenever you are.
You can book an appointment, you can ask millions of questions. Trust me, that is totally fine. And you can start turning the property dream that you have into a plan and hopefully soon into a reality. I know from experience that this can feel quite overwhelming, but when you're working with experts who can actually help you get there, it's such a burden off your shoulders to know that you've got the advice and the tools that you need to actually make it happen.
We know how hard it can feel and like overwhelming and just, so like a fish out of water when it comes to buying properties. So we're so thankful to BNZ to be helping us create and empower this podcast so that people can learn, and we just want you all to succeed. We want you all to succeed. We're all in your corner. And this is going to be such a game-changing property podcast series.
Yes, and for anyone that is going through the process of either buying a house or a flat or whatever it is that you're trying to do, please let us know, because we would love to be cheering you on from the sidelines. But thank you so much again to BNZ for empowering this podcast. Okay, quickly, The Curve was created to empower and educate you about investing, but we are not financial advisors.
Our platform exists for educational purposes only, and it doesn't provide personalised investing advice for your individual needs and should not be relied upon to make an investment or financial decision.
And always remember to do your own research before making any investment or financial decision.
We're here for any knowledge and support you need, but the final call is always yours.
And thanks for being here.
You got this.
Yeah, we know you got this.